Now, don't forget, yeah, well, one reason they're not being run at full capacity is they're getting swamped by the cheap but unreliable surges of power in the middle of the day, solar and that kind of thing, and then suddenly they're gone, you know. So that's a real problem. But back to this day of remembrance and of politics, the joining of the two. At the Canberra service, the outgoing president of the RSL sent a very pointed warning to the Albanese government that we needed to urgently lift our defence spending, get more fuel, get more ammunition. Here he is.
Our Defence Minister is keenly aware of the issues facing his portfolio, so the challenge before him is to convince his colleagues to rebalance our priorities. Otherwise, in future Remembrance Day ceremonies, we may well regret the conflict we didn't deter and remember those who we demanded to protect us without the necessary wherewithal.
You usually get moving, often anodyne speeches on Remembrance Day and Anzac Day. Was the speech that blunt, inappropriate on this day, or was it very important, so important that it just had to be said?
I think it's entirely appropriate, Andrew. The best way we can remember our fallen, those that have made the ultimate sacrifice, is to do all we can to make sure it doesn't happen again. We don't want to have to go through that cataclysmic experience as we did well over 100 years ago now, and repeat it again in World War II. And the best way to do that is to make sure, best way to prevent it again is to make sure we're prepared for any conflict and can deter any kind of aggression in our region. So I think the intervention is timely. Everybody deep down knows it. But like on many issues here, this government is kicking the can down the road, hoping that a miracle will come and save the day.
Well, the miracle is more spending. How about it do that? And just finally, Matt, the BBC, Britain's version of our ABC, has had its two top executives forced to quit over its left-wing bias. Now President Donald Trump's threatened to sue it for $1 billion US if it doesn't apologise by Friday for one of the examples of its bias, doctoring a quote to make it seem like it was inciting violence at the US Capitol. That's actually forced a nervous ABC presenter today to ask the Prime Minister for protection. Have a listen.
Does the ABC need some more protection from Donald Trump?
Matt Canavan, should the ABC be nervous of being sued because after its bias against Trump, its bias against your coalition, its bias against George Pell and Catholics generally, its bias against anyone questioning the global warming cult?
Look, Andrew, I probably don't watch enough ABC to know for sure whether they have something to be nervous about, but I would suggest that they may want to review their Russia documentaries on Four Corners. I remember watching that years ago, and I don't believe they've ever apologised for that, despite multiple congressional investigations finding that the Russia links, or the alleged Russia links between Trump and Putin, were complete bunkum, absolute bunkum, an absolute hoax. And I believe the ABC has never corrected the record. They might want to do that sooner rather than later.
And Matt, I've got only a minute left, but can I just ask you quickly about the speech that Anthony Albanese gave last night on the dismissal, blasting the Liberals, blasting Sir John Kerr, calling it illegitimate, etc.?
Well, we've always known that the reason Anthony Albanese says he's in politics is to fight Tories. So clearly he was very upset when the Tories won in his formative years and kicked out a terrible government. Perhaps it would be better, though, if Anthony Albanese's purpose was to lift the living standards of all Australians. He's not doing that very well. We're going backwards, our real wages back to 2011 levels. How about he focuses on that instead of fighting the culture wars of 50 years ago?
And perhaps instead of erecting another statue to Gough Whitlam. I mean, that is absurd. Matt Canavan, thank you so much for your time.